In problem 2, I am looking at a graph and I am being asked to work in reverse. Given the graph, I'm asked to identify or match it with the appropriate piecewise function. In looking at the graph, I noticed two things. One, I noticed that I have a linear section to the graph, and that linear section is slanting to the right, which tells me that I have a positive slope. So when I look at the other piece, to me it looks like half of a parabola. But in this case, the parabola has been reflected over the x-axis. So that implies to me that my term has to be squared for a parabola, which would be from a quadratic, and also that there has to be a reflection, which means that the term would be negative. Now let's take a look at our answer choices. In the first answer choice, I can do an elimination immediately because the square term here would not be reflected, so that is obviously not a choice that I can make. But in the second choice, I see a negative x squared and a positive x term. Before I jump the gun, I also see that I have the same situation in C, but not in D. So I can eliminate D because the linear term is negative and the quadratic term is positive. So now I have to determine which of these two fits the graph. It all depends on the domain. If you read carefully, this quadratic would have half of the parabola flipped over the x-axis, only when x was less than or equal to 0. In which case this would be the appropriate fit because all of these values, the domain values, are 0 and less than 0. So before you choose the B immediately, even though that turned out to be the correct one, further investigation should be made into the possibility of C as well.